Welcome back to our channel. Life often presents us with situations that challenge our patience, test our boundaries, and push us to question the decisions we make. Sometimes, these moments are filled with raw emotions, where self-defense, betrayal, and misunderstandings collide. The stories we've gathered today are from real people navigating the ups and downs of relationships, handling difficult situations, and seeking clarity. From defending yourself in the face of aggression to navigating the complexities of love and support, each story sheds light on the challenges that define human connections. So grab a snack and get comfy, because things are about to get messy. Our first story is from the r/BestofRedditorUpdates subreddit, AITAH for punching my husband's ex-wife. My husband's ex-wife, let's call her Shelley, has hated me since day one. Honestly, I'm not a fan of hers either. She's been high conflict from the beginning, using my stepson as a pawn in her games, making him listen at doors and report back to her. She even once called CPS on me just because I have a medical marijuana card. Nothing came of it, but that's the kind of person she is. She tells anyone who'll listen that I stole her family and ruined her life, despite the fact that she and my husband had been divorced for 8 years when I met him. A few days ago, I took our 4-year-old daughter to the park in our subdivision. While I was pushing her on the swings, I saw Shelley pull up. I immediately picked up my daughter and began walking home. That's when Shelley started following us, yelling insults and threats. I stayed calm, called 911 and kept walking. But then she said something that made my blood run cold. She called my daughter a half-breed. I'm black, my husband is white. I told her to back off. I warned her that the police were on their way, but she only got more aggressive. By the time I reached our house, the garage was open. I told my daughter to run inside and get her dad. When I turned around, Shelley was sprinting at me, arm raised, ready to strike. Instinct kicked in. I punched her, right in the throat. She hit the ground, gasping for air, but even then, she tried to swing at me again. I dropped to check if she was okay, but she wasn't done. That's when the cops showed up. She fought them too and ended up in handcuffs. My husband, who had seen it all on our security footage, was already outside and handed the video over to the police. They separated us and took our statements. Shelley claimed I hit her first, but the footage proved otherwise. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. That's when things got complicated. We live in a small town and word travels fast. Suddenly, I'm being painted as the villain because Shelley is 5 feet 4 inches, 130 pounds, and I'm 5 feet 10 inches, 180 pounds, and I weight lift. People said I should have gone easy on her, that I could have seriously hurt her, that pressing charges was overkill. Of course, my husband, my stepson, and my family supported me, but the town, not so much. I've gotten nasty messages, been called a bully and a monster. And now I'm left wondering, did I go too far? Was I wrong to defend myself? But here's the thing, I wasn't the aggressor. I didn't chase her. I didn't insult her. I didn't even touch her until she ran at me on my property with the intent to hit me. I had to protect myself. More importantly, I had to protect my child. So, AITAH for defending myself? Well, OP, absolutely not. You didn't go looking for a fight. Shelley literally chased you to your house, threatened you, hurled a racist slur at your child, and then charged at you with the intent to hit. You didn't punch her over some petty drama. You acted in self-defense, on your own property, while trying to protect your daughter. And even after all that, you still checked if she was okay. That's not being a monster, that's being human. Also, let's be real. Your size doesn't cancel your right to defend yourself. Just because you lift doesn't mean you're obligated to stand still and take a hit. So no, you are not the a-hole. Shelley, on the other hand? Racist, aggressive, manipulative, and now arrested. That sounds pretty telling. Our next story is AITAH for being disgusted and just saying okay when my fiancé broke up with me. I am a 28-year-old female who has been with my fiancé, Alex, 34, since 2020. We met at a friend's party, hit it off, and have had been together ever since. He finished his doctorate in economics just last year. Since then, he has been working at the university. I have my master's in media sciences and decided to start working instead of going for a PhD. I never thought this would be my life. I was engaged to the man I thought I'd spend forever with. We had dreams, names for our future kids, a city we wanted to settle in, even talked about retirement. I was living in a fairy tale until it crumbled right in front of me. It all started when I got really sick. For about 3 months, I was barely functional. The doctors were running tests, but answers didn't come easy. I was tired all the time, throwing up randomly, losing weight, and not in the good way. I was scared, and more than anything, I needed support. I thought I had that in my fiancé, but instead of sticking by me, he started pulling away. I noticed the shift, less texting, short calls, barely any time spent together. I assumed it was just stress on his end. Maybe he was overwhelmed by seeing me like that. I gave him space. I tried to be understanding, but deep down, I felt abandoned. Then, one night, he came over. He wasn't angry or upset, just cold. He looked at me and said, "I can't do this anymore. I don't think I can marry someone who might be sick forever." I stared at him. No emotion, no tears, no fight, just this cold detachment. My world shattered. But at that moment, I couldn't bring myself to beg or scream or cry. I just said, "Okay." His face shifted. Maybe he expected me to fight back, to convince him to stay. But I didn't have it in me. I was already drowning, and he was supposed to be my life jacket. Instead, he let me sink. Later, I found out from a mutual friend that he had started seeing someone else, someone healthy, someone fun, someone who wasn't constantly tired and sick. I don't know if they overlapped or not, but at that point, it didn't matter. The betrayal was already complete. Some people told me I should have fought for him, that I should have shown I cared, but I did. Every day I battled my illness. I was also fighting to stay connected to him. He gave up, so when he left, I let him. Maybe that makes me cold. Maybe that makes me the bad guy. But when someone walks away while you're suffering, they don't deserve to hear you cry. I wasn't disgusted by him because he broke up with me. I was disgusted because of how he did it, like I was disposable, like love only meant something if I was healthy and convenient. So no, I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't fall apart in front of him. I just said, "Okay." And somehow, that hurt him more than anything else I could have done. Hey, OP, you're not the a-hole. You're calm, mature, and better off without him. He's spiraling because he can't accept that you're fine without him. Let him go. Keep muting. Blockers needed. He already burned the bridge. All you did was walk off it like a queen. Next, we transitioned to another Reddit discussion about women being mad at his husband for his behaviour after she got an IUD inserted. Last week, something happened that's been bothering me, and I can't shake the frustration. I need to know if I'm being dramatic or if I actually have a right to be upset. So my husband and I'm 25, he's 31, have only been married for about 6 months. Before we tied the knot, we'd been using the pill as birth control. But during the wedding planning chaos and some health issues, I stopped taking it, and we switched to condoms. My husband wasn't thrilled about this, and I get why. After a few weeks, we decided it was time to get back on the pill. But then, for some reason, my husband insisted I get an IUD instead. I'm not sure what sparked his sudden insistence, but he brought it up again and again, like 10 times before my appointment. At first, I wasn't sold on the idea. I was just planning on getting back on the pill, but after so many conversations, I started to look into the IUD. I'll admit I was nervous. It's a procedure, and I'm terrible with medical stuff, pain, anything like that. My blood pressure shoots up just sitting in a waiting room, and my husband once said I was the most dramatic person he'd ever seen when I broke my foot. But still, I didn't want to let him down, so I decided to go through with it. At my appointment, I talked to my doctor. She reassured me a lot. I told her about my pain issues, and she made sure I understood everything that would happen, what the procedure was like, how she would make sure I was comfortable, and how I could expect to feel afterward. She told me it might hurt for a bit, but if I could rest, I'd likely sleep through most of the worst cramps. I trusted her, and I went through with it. The day of the procedure, I set everything up for myself. Water, snacks, heating pad, medications, comfy clothes, everything I'd need to rest. I was prepared. But when I came home after the procedure, my husband wasn't exactly waiting with open arms. Instead, he looked impatient, and I could feel the tension. We got home, and I was ready to unwind. But as soon as I walked in, I saw everything I had set up for myself was put away. My clothes, my snacks, my medicine, everything. My pajamas were in the dirty laundry, the water was poured out, and my meds were thrown back into the medicine cabinet. Even my blanket was folded up. I was upset. I had made all these preparations to take care of myself, and it felt like he didn't even notice or care. When I confronted him, he apologized and said he thought I had left it out from the night before, which was confusing because I hadn't gone anywhere before the appointment. I had no idea he'd gone home and put everything away while I was at the doctor's. All I wanted was to rest, but now I had to get everything back out. He didn't offer to help, he just said sorry, like it wasn't a big deal. I tried to rest, but an hour later when I was in the middle of cramping, he woke me up asking what I wanted for dinner. I was furious. The pain was unbearable, and now I couldn't even get back to sleep. He didn't understand. I snapped at him, telling him to leave me alone, and all he did was give me that "you're being crazy" look. Then, to top it off, he ordered food from a place I don't even like, saying, "Well, I thought you weren't going to eat because you were mad and yelled." I'm still holding on to the grudge. I feel like he didn't take my pain or discomfort seriously. He was the one who begged me to go through with the IUD, but when I needed him most, he didn't seem to care. I know he didn't intentionally do anything wrong, but his actions, his approach, just didn't consider what I was going through. And that really hurt. So am I overreacting, or do I have every right to be upset with him? Hey OP, I can understand why you're upset, and honestly, I think you're not overreacting. It sounds like your husband didn't fully grasp the gravity of what you were going through, especially since you had communicated your concerns before the procedure. Getting an IUD is a big decision, and the process itself can be physically and emotionally draining. You were really trying to take care of yourself, setting up a calm environment for recovery, and it's frustrating when someone disregards that. His actions, like putting away everything you prepared and then waking you up in the middle of cramping, show a lack of sensitivity to your needs at that moment. Even though he probably didn't mean to hurt you, it feels like he was more focused on his own discomfort or impatience rather than your well-being. You mentioned that he was the one who insisted on the IUD, so it's understandable why you'd expect him to be more supportive when you're dealing with the aftermath. It doesn't sound like he was malicious, but he could have been more present, more understanding of your pain, and more proactive in helping you out, instead of just apologizing and brushing it off. It's definitely okay to feel hurt and frustrated, especially when you feel like you're the one making all the effort to consider your partner's wishes. Your feelings are valid, and it's important for both of you to communicate better in situations like this. Maybe this can be an opportunity to sit down with him and talk about how his actions affected you, especially when you needed him most. It could help clear the air and improve how he supports you in the future, particularly when you're going through something difficult. That's it. Let's move to our next story, AITAH for banning my husband from all doctor appointments after he repeatedly messes with me while I'm pregnant. I'm currently about 6 months pregnant, and recently I've been feeling really frustrated with my husband. Every time we go to a doctor appointment, he does this thing where he drives me to the appointment. Then, just as I'm about to get into the car, he drives forward a little, reverses, and then drives forward again a few times. He thinks it's hilarious and says he's just messing with me. At first, I tried to laugh it off, but over time, it really started to wear on me. Pregnancy has been physically and emotionally exhausting, and the last thing I need is him poking fun at me when I'm already stressed and tired. I told him it bothers me, but he brushed it off and said I was overreacting and that it was just a joke. Things came to a head the other day when we had a big argument about it. I explained how his actions were making me feel, but he got defensive and told me I needed to lighten up. He said it was just a joke and I should stop taking it so seriously. I told him it wasn't funny anymore and I didn't want to deal with it during my pregnancy. The final straw was yesterday before a doctor appointment. He did it again and I'd had enough. I called my mum to take me instead and told my husband he wasn't allowed to come to any future appointments. He was furious, especially since the next appointment is the one where we'll find out the baby's gender. He says this is a huge moment and that I'm being unfair by not letting him be there. I tried to explain that I just needed him to respect my boundaries, and this was one of the ways I was doing that, but he keeps insisting that it's just a silly little thing and that I'm being unreasonable for making a big deal out of it. Am I overreacting here? It sounds like you're dealing with a lot right now, and your feelings are completely valid. Pregnancy can be overwhelming, both physically and emotionally, and the last thing you need is added stress from something that's supposed to be playful. It's important that your boundaries are respected, especially when you're already dealing with so much. You've communicated your discomfort, and it's crucial for him to understand that it's not about the joke itself, but about how it's making you feel. You're not overreacting, you're simply asking for empathy and consideration. It seems like your husband might not fully grasp the emotional toll pregnancy takes, or perhaps he's not seeing how his actions affect you. While the gender reveal is a significant moment, it doesn't mean his behaviour should be ignored. You have every right to set boundaries to protect your mental well-being. Maybe a calm, honest conversation outside of the heat of an argument could help him understand why this is important to you, and it might open a door for better communication between the two of you going forward. It might also be helpful to explain that your need for space and respect isn't about keeping him out of important moments, but about creating an environment where you both can enjoy the experience together without feeling stressed or undermined. Let's shift to the next story, AITAH. For telling my husband that my doctor knows more than him and refusing to forgive him. I am a 24-year-old female and am currently 33 weeks pregnant with my husband's baby, a 31-year-old male, and we've been married for 4 years and together for 6. This is the first major argument we've had. At 20 weeks pregnant, I was diagnosed with placenta previa, a condition where the placenta covers the opening of the cervix. The doctors said it would likely move as the pregnancy progressed, but it didn't. As a result, I'm scheduled for a C-section in 3 weeks. At 20 weeks, I was given light restrictions, but by 30 weeks, the restrictions became more serious. No running, no lifting, no standing for more than 3 hours, and most importantly, no sex and no vaginal exams. This was to prevent any potential bleeding, which could lead to a preterm birth. I've been following these rules for 3 weeks now, but it's been incredibly difficult. My husband constantly bothers me about having sex, and every day I remind him of the restrictions. But he hasn't been happy with that answer. Finally, one day he started arguing, saying doctors sometimes dramatize things for the sake of their careers or money, and that they push for C-sections unnecessarily. I still insisted that I knew the condition I had and that I needed to follow the rules. But he didn't accept that, and we ended up having sex. A few hours later, I started bleeding heavily, which terrified me. I immediately called my doctor, who advised me to come in right away. I was crying on the way to the hospital, fearing that I might need an emergency C-section to deliver a baby at just 33 weeks. Thankfully, I wasn't in preterm labour, but the bleeding was serious enough that I needed to be checked out. While I was there, my doctor asked my husband to leave the room and then asked me questions to figure out what might have caused the bleeding. She assured me it wasn't accusatory, but she needed to know if I'd done anything I wasn't supposed to do. I told her I had sex. She then went over the restrictions again and handed me information about domestic violence, putting it in my purse for me. I was mortified. When we left the office, I was furious and yelled at my husband for not respecting my boundaries. I told him that my doctor knows what's best for me and the baby, not him. He apologized, and I could tell he genuinely felt remorseful. However, I've been holding a grudge ever since, and he's been apologizing non-stop. He even asked me how long I was going to make him apologize, and I told him at least until the baby is born. AITAH for holding a grudge and refusing to forgive him yet. Hey OP, I can definitely understand why you're so upset. Your husband disregarded your doctor's advice, and that put both your health and your baby's health at risk. It's not just about the restrictions, it's about respect for your boundaries and understanding the serious implications of what's happening. It's incredibly frustrating when someone doesn't take the situation seriously, especially when it's something as important as your pregnancy. You didn't overreact by standing up for yourself, and it's completely reasonable to expect an apology and to need time to process. Your body and your baby come first, and it's essential for him to recognize that. I think he needs to show through his actions, not just his words, that he understands why what he did was wrong. Holding a grudge right now isn't a bad thing. It's about setting clear boundaries and making sure he understands the gravity of his actions. That's it for today. Each of these stories is a window into the human experience, showcasing the delicate balance between self-preservation and emotional vulnerability. Whether it's standing up for yourself or deciding when to walk away, the lessons are clear. Protect your well-being, but also understand that every choice has its consequences. Ultimately, life is about finding peace within yourself and standing up for what you believe is right. So, while these stories vary in their outcomes, they all share the common thread of learning, growth, and the pursuit of happiness. If these updates hit you right in the feels, go ahead and drop a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that challenge the definition of love, loyalty, and self-respect. And if you're ready for more Reddit stories, check out our playlist for even more drama. See you in the next one.